Good morning and good early afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Real Estate America's Newsroom edition. We've made it. Congratulations. We've made it into the month of June. It is 2022. We're all still here. It's a wonderful day. It is the second day of June in the year of our Lord 2022. We have an action-packed show. Ladies and gentlemen, stick around all the way to the end because I've got a special surprise for you. We're going to leave this show with a big bang. Don't believe me? Stick around. Getting into the news here. Today's notes. Breaking news. Redfin report says 1 out of every 5 home sellers had dropped their sales price in May. Interesting. 1 out of every 5. So what's going on? We're going to round table with all of the co-hosts and bring in everybody. We've got some mainstream media reports to go and review. As always, Florida Governor Ron Desantis seems to be in the news quite a bit, but just announces Hometown Heroes Housing Program launch in the state of Florida. We think it's phenomenal. The Real Estate America's Newsroom really applauds this program, so we're going to review it. So for any of you first responders, military service men and women, or veterans, stick around. You're going to want to know about this program in the great state of Florida. Freedom Move USA launches its national moving program, but now services Canadians moving to America. So the Freedom Move USA program will reach across the border and help some of those Canadians come down here and relocate to our great country. We're going to talk about it. And as always, mortgage and appraiser news with Kirk, Jaffe, and Mark Buhler. We're going to review a report from Black Knight's Vice President of Enterprise Research on what's going on in the mortgage side of the house. And the last segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, new home sales drop to pre-pandemic lows. So we've got a report from Realtor's chief economist that kind of weighs in on what the situation is. So stick around. But before we get moving forward, I'm going to introduce my illustrious and esteemed co-host, as always, Mr. Nicholas Sakis. How are you today, sir, Nick?
Sarge, what's going on, my friend?
We have a lot to talk about today. We definitely do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I encourage everybody to go check out my Instagram or TikTok. I posted a video yesterday about a brand new suit for listing agents. It's body armor. So when you have to go up in front of a seller and tell them they need to do a price reduction here in the next month, you can take a broomstick to the neck and not get hurt. So go ahead and check that out.
Well, that's a hell of a plug, ladies and gentlemen, for Nick Sakis's Instagram and TikTok. So go over there. That? I mean, yeah, go ahead and do that. Hey, Nick, I have a question.
Before they do that, they should go to reunation.com and check us out, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming live on the REU Nation network. It is a cool place to be. If you haven't heard about it, go check it out, reunation.com. We've got this thing over there called Real Estate America's Newsroom show page with all of our past episodes that you guys can tune in and see if we were right, see if we were wrong. But Nick, why should people go ahead and even watch this show?
So this show is for the people, right? We talk about that all the time. We are bringing representatives from all across the country to bring you guys breaking news, boots on the ground, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, industry news, and then we're covering mainstream news to see from guys in the industry who are doing this stuff every single day, right? So we want to keep you as informed as possible with your boots on the ground, talking to people, getting your listings, just day-to-day stuff. So we are here every Tuesday, every Thursday, at high noon to bring you as much value as possible. So we hope that you guys enjoy all the work that we're putting in behind the scenes for this.
Amen. Amen. So if you like what we're doing at all whatsoever, we would kindly ask that you go down to the bell thingy and do what, Nick?
Yeah, smash that bell.
Okay. I'm new to this whole social world, ladies and gentlemen. So smash a bell, and what do we do with these thummy things?
We gotta like. Hey, if you don't like it, tell us. That's just the same for us, right? Yeah. We want to improve this because again, this is for you guys. So if you don't like what we're doing, if you have suggestions, put in the comments. But the best place would be at reunation.com. You can fill out a form. If you'd like to be on the show, if you'd like your name in lights, so you can share it on your social media, go ahead and go to reunation.com, fill out the form, and we'll try our best to get you on the show.
Amen. Nick, I have a question for you. So let's just put this kind of into a little bit of a picture. If you were to move into a nice new home that had a fenced in backyard and maybe a nice little pond, And then your family said, hey, let's go ahead and get a pet for this new home. What would your pet be and what would you name it?
Oh man. Well, I'm definitely a dog guy. And our current dog right now, her name is Luna, but let's see. I'd probably have to go Siberian Husky because that's the dog I've had growing up my whole life. And I'd probably name him Sarge after one of my best friends.
Good. Well, I've got something interesting to show you, Nick, and show everybody else that's watching. This gentleman moves into a new house with a fenced-in backyard for his pet named Margarita.
Margarita, come here. Come here, mama. Come here, baby. Margarita, come here. Hi. You're a good girl. Hi, sweet pea. Come here. You're a good girl.
Isn't that the sweetest Margarita alligator ever?
Dude, this is why Florida gets a bad name. All that gets shown in the news about Florida is zombies, alligators, and old people getting into accidents. It's quite a stigma we got.
I thought that was cute. He loves his alligator so much
sure.
so he named her Margarita. And isn't she a good alligator? Just
we'll have to ask some of our correspondents up in California what they hear about Florida, because I'm sure it has something to do with alligators.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you think Margarita was a cute pet for your backyard, let us know in the comments. Nick, should we go ahead and launch this show or what? Should we launch the boat?
Let's see what Redfin has to say.
All right, let's launch the boat. You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Breaking news. Redfin report says 1 in 5 home sellers had dropped their sale prices in May. Let's go ahead and see what the mainstream's talking about, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to spin it with everybody.
According to the real estate company Redfin, requests for home tours are down over the past year, and fewer are searching for homes on Google. Redfin reports 1 in 5 sellers dropped their asking price so far this month, the highest level in nearly 2 years. CBC's senior real estate correspondent Diana Olick spoke with one seller eager to get their house off the market before it's too late.
This Los Angeles home went on the market earlier this month, and its owners were already getting nervous that the red-hot housing market was suddenly chilling.
We talked about that a lot. Like, are we making a mistake here? Are we missing the boat? Are we, is everything going to crash in the next 3 months and we're going to kick ourselves for not selling our house earlier this year?
The house ended up getting 3 offers, but the listing agent said multiple offers are no longer the rule.
We used to get 10, 15 offers on most houses. Now I'm seeing between 2 and 6 offers on a house. On a good house, we'll get 6 or 7. On an average house, we'll get 1 or 2.
The quick and sharp jump in mortgage rates, along with huge gains in home prices, are simply pricing buyers out. Take a look at what has happened to a $300,000 house in just the last 3 years. In May of 2019, with 20% down on a 30-year fixed and the rate then of 4.33%, the monthly payment was $1,192, not including taxes and insurance. In 2020, that same house was 5% more expensive, but mortgage rates fell at the start of the pandemic, so the monthly payment actually dropped. By 2021, home prices were really surging, up 15%, but rates dropped even further, so the monthly payment was only up about $100. Fast track to this May, with prices up another 21% and mortgage rates surging, the monthly payment is now almost $800 more than it was in 2019.
We joke we might be getting out of here, just at the right time. I wouldn't want to wait any longer.
Because it is clearly a whole new landscape.
I met with sellers in February who are going to sell in June, and it's a very different conversation in February than it will be in June because the market has completely changed.
Mortgage rates did fall back slightly over the past week, but not enough really to make much of a difference for buyers. What they really need to see is lower home prices and more supply, not just overall, but at the entry level of the market. So far, we are not seeing that. Shep.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.
Thanks, Shepard.
Thank you, Shepard. Thank you, Shepard. We appreciate you, Shepard. Okay, so Tony, this is your neck of the woods, right? So last week we were hearing 10, 15, 20 people waiting and putting in offers. And now all of a sudden, awkwardly enough, this week, maybe 3 to 5, things are starting to slow down. What say you? 1 in 5 homes had dropped their sale price in May. What's going on?
Well, you know me, first thing I'm asking is I'm questioning the data. That could be very hyperlocal numbers. For example, if you're in the $2 million plus area of Irvine or Newport Beach or higher, you may not necessarily see that price drop yet. It also depends on the buyers in the area. You know, knowing that some of these homes are staying strong in the price, people are around my area are so proactive. So we're not seeing in our area that kind of a price drop yet. So people watching things like that, I would suggest, number one, try to look at the fine print to make sure you understand what they're referring to. They could be referring to, you know, at $300,000, not around here, but you're probably looking at condos, for example. And, you know, having a small change either direction, let's say in this case on the news, they just reported that, you know, sellers are dropping their price. Well, people drop their prices. That's what happens. So we're not seeing 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10 homes dropping in price. What I suspect we're seeing is, instead of all these prices going up, like we've seen for so long, at some point in the market, we all know things will start to go down. All of it? No. But the fact we're starting to see a little bit of a trend change, it could just be a correction. It could just be temporary. Who knows? Next week, Redfin might crunch their own numbers and say, now it's gone the other direction. So I'll be very careful about speculating about what this really means. But in my particular area in Southern California, I don't see it. I don't feel it. The people I talk to aren't seeing it. But that can change in a couple of weeks. So I would tell buyers and sellers, you know, get off the fence and start taking action, because this could be worse later.
So this is kind of like me hanging out at the beach. It's a nice sunny day, and there's a hurricane offshore, but it's still nice today, right? So next week that hurricane might hit the beach.
Or that hurricane could be going away from you. The fact that you see it doesn't mean it's coming at you.
Tony. Everybody that's watching, don't you love this guy's optimism? He's such a wonderful person.
I'm trying to look for a happy angle sometimes, but also trying to be realistic, because you and I know with this news program, we try to talk with, you know, our feet on the ground and level heads, and, you know, digest what we're looking at to reinterpret it in a way that makes probably more sense, because some of those bigger programs do sensationalize this. So I appreciate Redfin's data, I appreciate the reporting, but then we have this show where I'm on saying where those numbers come from.
Yeah, I think you're a question everything kind of a guy, but that's good.
It's what gives us that's what makes this country so great, is the right to question authority, or what we believe to be authority.
Understood. Mr. Kirk, you're the man in the know as it pertains to all things mortgage. What say you on this report?
Yeah, try and stay on top of it and in front of it at all times. You know, historically, price reductions in a healthy real estate market are about 30 to 32%. So 1 out of 5 indicates about a 20% in price reduction on homes for sale. So I think we have a little bit of running room here ahead for further appreciation and further homeowner money making. You look at Diana Olick's announcement there in 2019. She was saying it was a terrible time to buy a home, and if you'd listened to her, you would have lost out on almost $160,000 of increased equity. So I think take it with a grain of salt and buy a home because you need a place to live for your family and you want to build net worth and create stability. Don't worry so much about the modern media.
Outstanding. Tim Parnell, the Duke of the Dollar. The Duke of the Dollar.
In the flesh.
What's your take on this? Thank you, Mr. Kirk. We appreciate it.
Well, you know, my perspective is if we're just isolating the real estate market in and of itself, there's nothing to suggest that it's going to come down or taper or whatever. Okay. But I don't look at the real estate market in and of itself. I look at everything. I look at in the United States. I look at the global markets. And my opinion is that anyone should be careful making big purchases of any kind, putting money into things. You should vet where you put your money, and you should have a plan for, you know, how long you're willing to hang out there, whether it's housing or otherwise, but especially housing, because, you know, what might be a 20% dip in a market value doesn't necessarily constitute a crash. It just means that the person who bought today is down 20% on their equity, but the person that bought a year ago is still above break even. And so it's just something to think about. The long term, I think jobs come back. I think the market and the economy will be healthier in the long run, but it could be some time before we get there.
Understood. Nick, the lady inside that mainstream report said, oh my gosh, maybe I think we might have waited a little bit too long to go ahead and hit the top of the market. And then the realtor was talking about how the conversation she was having with people in January is completely different than what's going on in June, right? What's your take on that, Nick?
Yeah, I think, real estate, like Tony said, is hyper local. So the reason why we cover these national stories for you guys listening, because our audience is mostly brokers and agents, is because we want to show you what your customer's seeing, right? So when you go and talk to people, they're hearing this news and they're taking that as fact. And then you can bring your data of a hyper local expert to say, well, this is what's really going on in our market, right? So it's far different from a national news coverage. And you could say a perfect example of that is how Zillow pulled back on their iBuyer program because they went national with something that's hyper local and it didn't work, right? Mm-hmm. It's completely impossible to call the top or the bottom of anything, right? But we are seeing for sure, if nothing else, inventory hasn't changed all that much, but the actual amount of house that people can buy because of mortgage rates going up is a fact. And that is a fact across the country. So the correction that we're seeing is due to people's buying power, and not necessarily the inventory being so high in an area that they have to reduce the pricing. So it's a little bit different of a conversation.
Well, it's interesting, right? Later on in the show, we're going to start talking about new home builds and the sales drop to pre-pandemic lows, right? But the actual ratios on new home construction being built into an affordability type level, maybe first-time home buyers, in the 2s, 3s, mid-3s, is very small percentage. So it's quite interesting to me. Thank you, Nick. Mr. Paul, the realtor in the Triad, he's in the Golden Triangle up there in North Carolina. What's your take on this? 1 out of 5 Redfin homes went ahead and dropped prices in May.
Well, when I checked the numbers this morning, here in the Triad, we started off, this is a happy month to everyone out there. We're starting off with 1,600 homes. Last month, we had 1,400 homes. So we have 2 more 100 homes we're starting off this month. 8 homes have dropped their price. 1 of them has increased their price. We have 3 expireds and 36 pending. And I'm giving you these numbers because I like to watch my market regularly. And I'm seeing the inventory starting to rise. And I do believe it is due to exhausted buyers, as we said before, and interest rates going up. Talking about the hurricane, Jake, I believe that was 2020 because you could buy the same. You could buy the same house, $315,000, 3.41%. Your monthly payment was $1,119. Today, it is almost $2,000.
Yeah,
it was like that. So you're out there, go ahead and do your backstroke in the ocean because the hurricane's coming. And I think it's important what she said in that video. My conversation today is much different than it was a few months ago. And agents out there, you really want to be paying attention to this because you have to keep up with your market because your conversation will change with your buyers and sellers' needs to sell their property. And you're going to have to know how to let them know what to be expecting from the current market situation, if that makes any sense.
Sure does. So that's a pretty decent increase in percentage of new home inventory this month from last month in your neck of the woods.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's still not 1 in 5 price reduction in your market. Far from it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, he's in one of the hottest markets as well in the United States. Right. He's in the top 10. So that Raleigh, North Carolina, and everything else. So, Nick, that goes to your point on it being a hyper-local market type situation. So, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got some big corporations that are moving into North Carolina, big major corporations that are going to be supplying jobs, right? So that
absolutely.
Feels...
Oh, sorry for interrupting. Yes, one of your neighbors is coming up here, Publix. Publix is opening tremendously a lot. Massive warehouses and restaurants, grocery stores everywhere.
What's
Everybody
good?
loves the pub sub.
It's good. They've
Yeah.
got a good organic section too, Paul. So
Yeah.
I'm
Good
starting
deal.
to shop there. We have Harris Teeter. It's my favorite, but I'm starting to go to Publix.
sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Hey, Tim, I'm going to bring Mr. Kirk Jaffe back in here real quick regarding some of these refi and mortgage rates, right? So, Kirk, I went ahead and saw yesterday that it's cheaper for me to go ahead and pull equity out of my home than it is to kind of move into a fixed mortgage rate.
You mean the difference between a first mortgage or a second mortgage for home equity?
Right.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of equity mortgages right now because rates are going to continue to go up for a little while. We are starting to see a situation where a recession is looming, not too far off in the distance. When recessions come, mortgage rates historically go down. So, but we've got some things coming up. You've got this Federal Reserve's going to run off their balance sheet here starting this month with the mortgage-backed securities that they hold and own. So that we expect will drive rates up a little bit more. So what's great about home equity lines of credit is they're smaller dollar amounts. Maybe you take a $50,000 line of credit at 8.5%, which has a nice teaser rate for 6 months at 2.99. So it might be cheaper because the dollars are so much smaller. It really depends what you're going to do with that money. If you're carrying a big balance of credit card debt at 19 or 22%, you might be better off taking a long-term mortgage at the 5.5% and reducing that total overhead for your family versus an equity line, which is going to move up and down with the markets. But it really depends on what your outcome is, what your goals are as a family, and then building the right product and using the right products to get the outcome you want.
So I see a lot of people starting to slow down. They're saying, all right, we're good where we're at. We're going to stay where we're at. Now they're sitting on top of a large equitable position. But we're starting to hear a lot of this pending doom and recession and, crashes. And the mainstream media is starting to talk about it. Even some of the main analysts in the financial sectors were saying last week that we're just going to have a little bit of a rainstorm this week. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a hurricane. What's going on here? So, good. So if people want to tap their equity, what's the best way to go ahead and do it?
Yeah, again, you call in your financial advisor, your mortgage advisor. You can reach me at kirkjaffe.com or at the phone number 818-469-2189. If you have questions, happy to help. I do work nationally. But again, it's really about establishing a good plan. I think Tim would agree with that too. Knowing where you want to get to and lining up all the tools in the toolkit to make sure you have the best opportunity for a successful outcome is really what's most important.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Tim, so taking some of that equity and hedging against impending doom and hurricanes and financial storms, what are your suggestions here?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea to have a multifaceted plan, but one that makes sense, one that's carefully calculated and is tailored to you. And the only thing that stands between you and whatever that is talking to somebody that knows what the heck they're talking about. And that's where we come in and we just sit down with people, and whether that's tapping the equity, whether that's liquidating the house entirely, and you want to just downsize for a while and live on a few wheels, that's fine too. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. And, but what we're seeing right now, the biggest pain point that we're seeing is a lot of people who are exposed to the market with retirement accounts and things like that are just getting hurt. That's a relative statement. I mean, they've been riding this wave up for the last 5-6 years. And now, they've been living high on the hog on that, but now they're starting to come down and they see the writing on the wall. So we're just in a position to educate, help people move their money somewhere that is protected from market downside. And just that alone is attractive enough. But then we also have the added benefit of compounded earnings and compounded versus simple interest. I mean, it's a powerful thing when you understand it. And then lastly,
so Tim, I have some good friends that lost a lot of money in their 401ks here recently over the last 2 to 3 weeks because of what the market is doing. And they are devastated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can help. And 401k is an appropriate vehicle for, different goals. Okay. But, if you were able to capitalize on that for the last several years and you want to protect what you've got in there, you've got options. And most people don't know they've got options that they can roll into different vehicles that 100% protect them from downside. And then they get to capture gains. I mean, we've got some really cool stuff we put together for people who are in similar positions, and they're very, very happy.
So if I'm feeling something awkward coming in the future, like something in my gut, I'm going to get extra food, water, and I'm going to call Tim Parnell.
That's what I would do.
Okay. All right. Good. Tim, how can people get in touch with you if they want to get educated on options?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can reach me at tim@patriotwealthnation.com. And that is backed by Proton Mail. And so that's the number one way to contact us. And then you'll find me on the other end of that, and we can set up a conversation at a time and go from there.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Tim. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can't finish this segment without speaking to our favorite appraiser in the whole wide world, Mr. Mark Buhler. You're going to have to go ahead and put some actual pen to paper on some of these things when you're talking about price points. So Redfin says 1 out of every 5 homes. What say you?
Well, to have a transaction, you need a buyer and a seller, and the buyers are speaking now. Marketing times are increasing. In my market here in Southern California, if a home sits on the market for, double digits days, you got a house is 10, 12, I think Nick had mentioned before, what's wrong with this house? It's been on the market for 20 days, it doesn't just fly off the shelves. The market speaks. So if your house is priced too high and you really want to sell it, you need to lower your price. That's the fact of it. I mean, we've had a lot of great growth here price-wise, and everyone has across the country. But the old saying goes that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, and you don't want to miss this boat. If you're starting to see signs of properties sitting on the market longer and longer, and days on market and marketing times increasing, you may want to, as a seller, you may want to jump in and be realistic. That unicorn buyer is not always out there that's going to come in from New York City or San Francisco and overpay by $200,000 on your house. They're still out there. People are still leaving California in droves. They're jumping in those Freedom Move trucks and moving on down the road, and they're loving Texas and Florida and Idaho, and people are still making the mass exodus from here, but they may not be able to just capitalize on that extremely hot market. I think it's starting to cool up a little around here.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Mark. Appreciate you. Nick, I have a feeling from talking to all of our panelists that something is brewing. Something is brewing.
Listen, the most important thing you can do as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, when you're doing consultations, is set proper expectations. Like, that's it. If you want to have a smooth transaction, you need to set proper expectations for your seller or for your buyer. Tell them what's going on, and don't just take a listing because somebody gave it to you or a friend called you up and said, hey, list this house and I'm cashing in, and don't explain to them what's going on in the market. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. Set the expectation, continue to watch this show so you're educated on what's going on, and make sure you communicate that properly to your buyer or seller.
10-4. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Governor Ron DeSantis in the great state of Florida announces yesterday a new Hometown Heroes housing program is launching. Let's go ahead and see what this program is all about and how it helps first responders, veterans, active duty folks, and what it's all about. So if you guys missed the QR codes, this will be on runation.com at the Real Estate America's newsroom. You can go back through there. So if you are a first responder, a military veteran, an active duty service member, somebody that's a first responder at all whatsoever, there's new programs in the state of Florida to go ahead and help you guys with down payment assistance, which is a big thing, right? It was showing up to 5% of the actual home, up to $25,000 for certain qualifications. Nick, I think this is going to go a long way. You're a real estate professional in the state of Florida. What say you?
Yeah, I think the important thing to note about this program that's different, when you hear down payment assistance, you typically think of, yes, first-time home buyer, but also a low cap on purchase price. There's a link in this article, so go to runation.com and look at the article. I'm looking at the chart right now, and just for example, so I'm in Tampa Bay. Our main Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, and Pasco County, you can make up to $123,000 a year, which typically in other first-time homebuyer programs, it's capped at like 80, right?
Yeah.
And you can also purchase conventional VA loan up to $647,000. So this is not just a first house, I'm getting out of college and I'm just a new firefighter. This is a legitimate program for anybody that that needs to buy a home or gets a good incentive to buy a home and can buy up to $600,000. So make sure you check this chart out, print this out, have this in your book of business, especially all the Florida realtors. This could be something really good for us.
Absolutely. So Nick, your team out of the Tampa area, how can they get in touch with you if they need some help with this program, finding and identifying a home, working through that organization?
Yeah, I mean, you could fill out the application at RU Nation. You can get a hold of me that way. If you wanted to send me an email, it's nsakis@Sakis Group, SAKKIS GROUP, sakisgroup.com. And I'll be happy to get in touch with anybody that way.
Outstanding. Good deal. And then out of Central Florida, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are anywhere in the Central side, I urge you guys to get in touch with Chris Manka. He's a military veteran, also active real estate agent, and his mortgage teams are already certified through this program. So that's chrismanka.com, CHRISMANKA.com, chrismanka.com. Good deal. Outstanding. Well, good for the state of Florida. Hopefully some of the other states can go ahead and jump in, because I think this is a good appropriation of money from the state to go ahead and help people and get into homes. We love seeing first responders, military service members, and veterans being helped out when they need it. So they've done a lot for our country, and we love them. So especially coming off of Memorial Day weekend, what an awesome new launch opportunity here.
Yep.
So good form. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next segment. Freedom Move USA launches its national moving program. A lot of real estate agents across the United States of America are getting certified with the Freedom Move USA program. However, now we can go ahead and service folks in Canada that are looking to relocate. So let's go ahead and bring in some of our agents that are also certified with Freedom Move USA as well. So look at that. Wouldn't you know it? Tim and Mr. Paul and Tony, all of these fellows are part of the Freedom Move program. Tony, talk to us a little bit about Freedom Move USA, what it is, how can it help, and why should people call a Freedom Move USA certified agent first before anybody else in their local marketplace?
Hi, Mr. Seller. Yeah, ready to list your house. But listen, before you sign with anybody else, did you know that I can likely save you anywhere from $10,000 to possibly $30,000 in your move? Yeah, you're going to move, right? Exactly. So how do you feel about that 10, 20, 30 grand you're going to spend? Wait a minute. I'm certified with Freedom Move USA, and in your zip code, I'm the only one. So if you list with me, yes. Your wife fainted. I know it's a lot of money. But if you list with me, I can put you into the system. Let me see how many tens of thousands of dollars I can see. No, this is real. Exactly. Look me up. Yeah, Jake Wolf, great guy. So yeah, if you want to list with another agent and save a few bucks, you could, or you can list with me. I can do more and save you a ton on your moving expense. Oh, is that come over now? I'll be right there. I'm sorry, Jake. I was dealing with a client right there about Freedom Move USA.
We totally understand these things happen.
Yeah, so it's a great program. What it does, let me give you the short answers. Agents that are watching this, probably on a recording, look, you need a unique selling position, right? We always hear that. All the coaches, all the famous ones say that. And you don't really hear anybody pointing out something specific. Here's one for you. If you sign up, and I'm serious, you sign up at Freedom Move USA. If there's a zip code in your areas that you farm, for example, you get in there, you qualify, you get anointed by Mr. Wolf, and you now can say, well, I do what all those people do, but I think I work harder. And when you sign with me, I can save you anywhere from 5, 10, 20, possibly 30,000, maybe more. If you're going to England, let's have that conversation. Let me show you what I can do. And it's very likely the seller will go, wait, what? And now you got their attention, because everybody, no matter how much money you make, wants to save a lot of money, especially on moving. Nobody says, yay, my moving bill is here. It's always, oh God, my moving bill, like my car transmission. I don't want to pay it, but I have to.
Nobody even considers it, right? They're always thinking about how they want to maximize the sale of their home. And then all of a sudden they get into the logistics of transitioning to their next place, and they're making phone calls. And now with inflation and fuel prices and everything through the roof, all of a sudden they're going, I did not know it's going to cost me $25,000, $30,000 to go ahead and make it.
Exactly. So what I would tell agents is, let me reverse the psychology a little bit, I believe. You could not sign up with Freedom Move USA and don't claim your zip code, and your competition may. Now you got to go up against that other agent, maybe me. And if we have all the same services, because many of us do when we're high-end professionals, there's a certain equilibrium. But if I have that one more thing to save $5, $10, $20, $30,000 and everything else is the same, I'll win, you won't. Now, the same thing with you and your competition. So I would suggest go to the Freedom Move USA website, take a look at the zip codes, grab those zip codes, claim them. So now when you go up against all the other agents, again, probably very similar quality services and respect, but you might have that one more amazing thing. So like Jake said, moving costs are like, well, we have to move anyway, and it is what it is. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. So now Jake provides us real estate agents an opportunity to say, here's one more great thing, and in your zip code, Mr. Seller, nobody else is qualified but me.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Paul, an extra $25,000 goes a long way, right? And here we are. We just watched Governor Ron Desantis put this program together to help people with down payment assistance, almost to the same tune, right? So what are your thoughts on the Freedom Move USA program, Mr. Paul?
I think it's a fantastic program. And as Tony said, I think agents should really look into it. Go and look into this program and get your zip codes. We all pretty much do the same thing, but we provide different values as agents. And they're going to pick you on what's the best value you can provide for your customer. And you want to be the best. I mean, diesel's at $5.66 a gallon right now. Okay. This is phenomenal what's going on. And no one thinks about moving to the last minute. Oh, I'm going to sell my house in New York, and then I'm going to come down to Florida or New York, North Carolina. Oh, then I'm going to have to move. I didn't think about that expense. It is. So I think it's fantastic what you've done, Jake. And this is, this is really helping people. It's really helping people.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, being of service to all of our fellow Americans here. So if we can go ahead and help a lot of people save a lot of money, it goes a long way. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Tim, what say you on Freedom Move USA, sir?
It's a no-brainer. I mean, even if we weren't in hard economic times, it's a no-brainer. But even more so now, right? People are hurting; their pocketbooks are hurting. They're trying to save money everywhere they can. And why not phone up Freedom Move USA and see what agents in your area that can take care of you? Save that money, keep it in your pocket, and help divert some of the stress off of you. I mean, that's a number one thing that comes from, money, stress, all that stuff that goes into it. You get help with that coordination. It's a pretty powerful tool. So as an agent, if you're curious, you should definitely jump in, see if there's any territories open in your area. If you're a consumer and you're scratching your head wondering, could this work for me? How does this work? You need to phone it in and see what we can do for you, and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Tim. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you, your friends, your family, anybody that you know are possibly planning on making a move, make sure you send them over to Freedom Move USA. They can enter their information and then actually find the real estate agent that's certified in their local area to go ahead and help them save this kind of money. So make sure that they don't talk to any other real estate agent before coming to Freedom Move USA first, unless they actually want to spend $10,000 to $25,000 on their move. And that's the bottom line. Nick, what say you?
This is one of the most powerful unique selling propositions I've seen in the real estate industry since 2005, since I've been in this game, right? What I want you guys to understand, and the reason why I'm behind this as much as I am, is because we are coming on to winter. And even though this is a good program in a normal market, this is going to be a lifesaver in a down market, in a market where people are pinching pennies. And what I want you guys to understand is that, have you ever heard of Dollar Shave Club? Right? So my analogy right now is Dollar Shave Club. They came in the market and they said, you know what? We're going to give people direct to consumer, high quality razors for a reasonable price. The Gillettes of the world, the Schicks, these big companies that have been around forever. When you wanted to go buy razors, you had to talk to somebody at CVS or Walgreens to unlock this magical portal to get your $50 razors, and it was ridiculous. And then Dollar Shave Club came along and said, for $1, you can have high quality razors. This is what we are doing to the moving industry. There are big giants in the moving industry that have been using and abusing these retail rates on moving for too long. And so what we've done is we've connected a whole independent network of owner operators, and we are now passing on a freight rate to the consumer and not a retail rate. Okay. This is something that's never been done. So this is legit. This isn't a timeshare crap thing. I mean, this is 100%. We've had it vetted by attorneys. This is the real deal. So if you guys want an unfair advantage moving into this down market, you got to go to Freedom Move USA and claim a zip code.
Chris Manka is working with over 30 families right now, all within the last 3 months, that are all taking advantage of this program.
Yep.
It's huge. Good deal. Ladies and gentlemen, that's freedommoveusa.com. You can go there and find out some more information. If you are a consumer looking for an agent, make sure you enter your information on the front of the website. One of the call center representatives will reach out and get you connected to your local real estate professional in your area. If there is not a real estate professional in your area, you can still expect to save probably about 60 to 70% on your move versus retail moving options. If you are a real estate agent, make sure you go ahead and go to the agent page, fill out your qualification form, and we'll take a look at everything that's going on over there. You'll get reached out to, and if you're approved to proceed, you'll go ahead and move into all of the training and then get into the private groups where there's a lot of awesome people over there. Good deal. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are now servicing folks that are in Canada looking to relocate to the United States of America. So if you have clients that are contacting you in your respected areas, yes, we can handle that as well. So that's really good news. Crossing the borders. Outstanding. All right, let's move on. We're going to go ahead and get into one of my favorite segments, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Mortgage and Appraiser News with Kirk Jaffe and Mr. Mark Buhler. Let's go ahead and bring Kirk and Mr. Mark into the show here. All right, gentlemen, I've got a little bit of a Black Knight report. Let's go ahead and watch this here real quick, and then you guys can go ahead and fill us all in on what's going on in the world. What say you? Good.
Even as mortgage rates have eased somewhat, hovering around 5.4%, applications just fell to the lowest level since 2018 last week. And back then, rates were only around 5%. The last time rates were this high was more than a decade ago. So where does the housing market go next? Let's bring in Andy Walden. He's Vice President of Enterprise Research and Strategy with Black Knight. Andy, great to have you. What are you seeing in the high-frequency data?
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at what's going on in the market, we all knew early on this year we were going to see a decline in refinance activity, and we all know refinance incentive is down roughly 90%. Now what we're seeing is the expansion of that pullback across cash-out refinances, which had been holding relatively strong. Those are down now 40% year over year. And you're seeing it make its way into the purchase market through that tightened level of affordability, through that lack of inventory. You're seeing purchase volume start to pull back a little bit as well. So expanding beyond kind of what we knew was going to happen in those traditional refis into cash out in that purchase market as well.
And how much further could that go?
I mean, I think we could still see significant pullback. There are a couple major headwinds there for the purchase market. One of them is rising interest rates and the fact that they've now driven the lowest level of home affordability that we've seen since 2006. And the second is the fact that we still have only 1/3 the level of housing inventory that we traditionally should. So both that lack of inventory and lack of affordability continue to put downward pressure on the housing market. That'll likely carry through the summer months.
But the same factor that you're describing, the limited inventory, makes you wonder if that actually keeps a floor below how bad the market could get here.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. It's been kind of the bugaboo for the market over the last few months. It's kind of the saving grace right now, given how tight affordability has gotten. You're right, it does provide a little bit of a backstop there for home prices, which may be needed here.
So that being said, Andy, and now that people are kind of realizing, okay, we might see a significant drop in sales activity, but what do you think? Not necessarily a significant drop in prices?
Yeah, not as much as you otherwise would see. I mean, you're certainly seeing, if you look across the country, 40% of markets are now the least affordable they've ever been, which obviously puts some downward pressure on demand and potential downward pressure on price. But again, as you're saying, we won't see that same reaction that we traditionally would, or as strong of a reaction because of those low levels of inventory.
What are some other things being affected by kind of?
All right. So that's a little bit of a take from the mainstream side of the house. That was Black Knight's vice president of enterprise research. So, Mr. Kirk, refinances are down 90%, so they say. Cash out refinances are down 40%, lowest affordability of homes since 2006. And 40% of the markets across the whole United States of America are the least affordable that they've ever been. This is your segment, sir. Bring it down for us. What is the mortgage news with Kirk Jaffe?
Yeah, thanks, Jake.
Absolutely.
So a lot of data to absorb here. And yeah, we've been in a declining interest rate market for 20 years. Interest rates were in the high twos at one point, and I think I even did a couple loans for clients at 1.99 in the last 3 years. So naturally, we would see a decrease in refinance activity for folks that are sitting on a 1.99 or a 2.99 interest rate, and that's normal. But we also have more equity in our homes in America than at any time in the state of this country. About $26 trillion, I believe, is the equity in the properties right now. So it creates a situation where people can be creative. And I read this morning, mortgage rates on jumbo loans are actually a little bit lower, depending on where you get that product from, than what you might find on a conventional loan. So if you're at $500,000 or greater loan amount, you can use a jumbo loan and save half a point on your interest rate right there. So it's really about getting with the good advisors, knowing what your outcome is, and then building a package of opportunity. Right now in this market, I love the FHA 203K loan. That's the loan where you can finance your construction costs and rehab just about any property. So if property values do come down, which we don't really see that happening, as you've heard in all the news across the board, but say they did come down, well, conforming loan limits are increased right now. And if property values come down, it gives you an opportunity to buy a house that needs rehabilitation, finance all the costs, and pick up that equity and have an affordable payment all at the same time. So again, I don't look at the doom and gloom so much. I look at where are the opportunities in any market, and that's what I'm focused on.
Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Mark, what say you?
Well, we've said this over and over. As inventory declines, and we're at 1/3, according to Mr. Andy. I know Tony would immediately dispute all of his figures and question that, but the fact is rates are up. The monthly payments are up. There's not that much out there to purchase. So it's inevitable that we're going to have to see some sort of a shift. And the market is speaking, like I mentioned earlier. Whether the market slows down to the point where it's not increasing at 20% annually and only increases at 2 or 3 or 5%, which is a more sustainable, rational pace that we've seen over history. The rates are gonna, like Kirk said, if and when recession hits, rates will react, and the Fed hopefully will get a handle on this. You speak of, Jake, the the landing, whether it be soft or rocky or how
Wait,
they.
wait. I'm glad you said something about that. I think I found the Fed plane here just recently. Where is it? Wait
Soft landing. Let's see it.
Here it comes. They're coming in. They're going to come in hot.
Coming in hot.
I think they're coming in hot, regardless, Mark.
They're coming in hot. We're seeing it happen every month with the Feds. But from the appraiser's perspective, what we're seeing in the as we analyze contracts, the contract for purchase on these purchase transactions is less and less concessions being made by the buyers. In the past, they're willing to give up everything. We'll waive our appraisal contingency, our loan contingency, all of our inspections.
Wait a second. Nick actually went ahead and saw a blank purchase and sale contract from a buyer in Tampa, just like here. They gave it to the sellers and said, fill it out however they want.
6 months ago. Yeah.
6 months ago. But today we're looking at a whole different thing. So,
yeah.
And I got to give it to those people taking the selfie there with that plane coming in, 100 feet overhead. That's pretty gutsy.
Those are all of Tony's fans hanging on the beach. Everything's good.
I love it.
Am I right, Tony? Wait.
Oh, who doesn't want to get bathed?
Right, Tony? Everything's good.
Who doesn't want to get bathed in jet fuel?
I know. I love Tony. See, bring him in, bring him up. All right, good deal. KirkJaffe.com, ladies and gentlemen, www.KirkJaffe.com. Go ahead and check out Mr. Kirk if you guys need any insight, any information whatsoever into what's going on in the mortgage world. And Mr. Mark Buhler, how can people get in touch with you? You guys, I believe, have your hands full, good sir, with appraising homes in this marketplace right now, because there's which way do you go? So there's a lot of information. How can folks get in touch with you?
You can reach out to me by email is the best way. It's Mark, M-A-R-K, @cmpappraisal.com.
Outstanding. Good deal. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you and absolutely love this segment. Did you see that Fed plane? I think I spotted it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they're going to come in hot. What say you?
Yeah, it's already happening. We can already spot them on the horizon.
Yeah, good deal. So new build homes, the sales dropped to pre-pandemic level lows, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a report here from Realtor.com's chief economist and some other stuff in the mainstream media news we're going to go ahead and share with you, and then we're going to roundtable with all of our guests and go ahead and talk about the new construction marketplace, affordability, things like that. But stick around to go ahead and see the big bang at the end. You'll be shocked and awe. So let's go ahead and get into this report.
Sales of newly built homes have plummeted to pre-pandemic levels as inflation and mortgage rates rise. According to the U.S. Census, sales in April dropped 16.6% from March. The census also notes sales were down nearly 27% from the same time last year. The inventory of newly built homes on the market shot up to a 9-month supply. Normally, there's a 6-month supply. The sales numbers are far below what forecasters expected, prompting more recession fears. Joining us now to untangle all of this is Danielle Hale. Danielle's the chief economist for Realtor.com, one of the web's largest realty sites. Danielle, thanks for being with us. What is going on here?
The housing market is adjusting, and it's adjusting in a big way. We've seen mortgage rates increase roughly 2 percentage points since the end of the year last year. And as a result, housing is much more expensive. Buyers are having to grapple with higher costs of housing, while at the same time, they're navigating higher prices for things like gas and groceries and childcare. And at the end of the day, some buyers are taking a step back and reassessing their options because the costs are just too much. That's why we're seeing some weakness in those new home sales numbers and in other sales numbers across the housing industry.
All right, let's circle back on mortgage rates just a little bit. I guess we have mortgage rates now above 5%. That is quite a hike over the past months and years. What options does that present for consumers? Any?
Well, whether you think 5% rates are high or not probably depends on your perspective. They are the highest rates that we've seen in the last 13 years. And so anyone who's shopped for a home in the last decade or so, this is going to be the highest mortgage rate that they've seen. For shoppers who bought homes in the decades before that, 5.25% rates are really not that bad. So a lot of it depends on your perspective. The key thing to note is that these higher rates are coming at a time where we are also seeing higher home prices because we don't have enough homes available for sale relative to the number of buyers who want to buy them. And high prices and the combination of higher mortgage rates have really increased monthly costs. Monthly costs for new homes are roughly 50% higher than they were this time last year because of that combination of higher prices and higher mortgage rates. And if you look at what builders are building, they're really struggling to build in those low entry-level affordable price points. Roughly 1 in 10 homes in the recent data was sold under that $300,000 price point compared to 1 in 4 homes 1 year ago. So we're really...
So I think that's the big takeaway right there, Nick, right? It's about the new construction builds that are happening are 1 out of 10 are in that affordability category now with rates going up. What say you?
Where in the hell is their 9 month supply of inventory though? What was that stat? We need Barbarino in here to verify that because that's insane.
Well, let's do it. Tony,
Hello.
where is this at?
Hello there, Toll Brothers. How you doing, Mr. President of Toll Brothers? Yeah. Where are you getting this date? Oh, sorry, I'm on the news. I'll call you later. Yeah, tell me about it.
Don't hang up on him. We had questions.
Call you know back. What? He's got my speed dial. Come on. Just kidding, folks.
I mean,
just kidding.
They were correct, right? An average market is 6 months supply.
Yeah.
We've been less than a month's supply in Florida for a long time, right? New construction, resale, whatever. So that's a crazy stat. I do if you've only been in the business for the past 5 years, even the past 8 years, you haven't seen anything as far as what's coming, right? So like if you're in the business 2006, 7, 8, you saw the big new construction developments that were empty, that houses were built and there was signs and there was nobody there and there was kids skating in the streets because it was completely empty and nobody could buy anything. The interesting part about this and what they referenced, we all know this right now, like I bought my house 9 years ago at a 5.25% interest rate, but the house was $250,000. Right now, the interest rate's 5.25%, but my house is worth $500,000. So it's not the same time. So when people go, "Oh yeah, well interest rates have been there," well they've never been there and also had this high price at the same time.
Wait a second. Wait, this is all about perspective. They say.
Right. Sure.
Wait, it's just about perspective, right?
Essentially, from a home affordability standpoint, what's happening right now? Typically when young people would come up in the market, you get a job, you get married, you start your family. A lot of people across the country start off as renters and they rent something that's typically less money than it is to buy so they can save their money and put a down payment. We have completely flipped that on its head. Rent is now more expensive than it is to buy, but also they can't buy the home anyway, so they're pretty much stuck. So you have this whole generation trying to push into the market that is completely stagnant, right? So I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm not an economist, but just keeping my eyes on what's going on. If you've been an agent for the past 5 years and you've basically been playing Madden 2022 with all the cheat codes, if you're a listing agent, right? Like I look at my kids, and my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old will play video games together, and my 5-year-old will just crush skulls because the 2-year-old has no idea what he's doing and he's laughing in his face. That's what's happening. Listing agents have been laughing in buyers agents' face for a long time, laughing all the way to the bank, and the tides are going to turn. Things are changing.
Let's check in with the Duke of the Dollar. What say you, Tim?
Well, do any of you recall the period of time where we were talking about, I say we, the collective we, we're talking about millennials are not interested in home ownership. Does anybody ever remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Yet here we are. I've had more millennials that I've sold homes to in the last 2 years, but that was supposedly the justification for not building homes in the last 10 years or whatever the case since 2008. And to me, I think that's the really interesting gap is like, is that what happened? Was there this rhetoric that led to no, it doesn't make any sense because there's not going to be a buyer for that, home later on because millennials, they want to, live on electric scooters and by the beach. But now that turns out to be wrong. They want to be homeowners and raise families just like the rest of America does. So here we are.
So, Paul, I think if I was sitting at the CEO level of one of these new construction companies, I would say, well, let's look at what's going on in the interest rates in the world and what's affordable for people and where are jobs at. And I would shift a large segment of my new construction builds towards affordability to go ahead and hedge against what's going on. So I feel like we're going to start seeing more of a push in that direction. What say you?
I agree. I'm anxious to see when the builders are going to take out the clause where they have the right to jack up the price due to the materials.
The acceleration clauses, yeah.
The acceleration clauses, yes.
Yeah.
And they're just going to go back to say, when you sign this paper, this is your price. We're going to honor your price. And so I just like the stats. I mean, 6 months, I understand. 9 months, I don't know. I mean, the inventory is still tight for new construction here.
Well, once these builders start sitting on top of 9 months, then 10 months, then 11 months of inventory, they have to go ahead and say to themselves internally, something is not right here. Correct?
That's correct.
It's still going to be local, Jake, because over here in Toll Brothers building in the community of Lake Forest, right next to my city, I check on them once a week. I actually got to know the sales agents there, and the emails I receive for agents, they're showing on average 1.6 million, 1.8 million, and they're probably going to go up. Every phase or collection of homes they build, they sell out very quickly. So, when I go into the sales office to see what's coming next or just, find some extra information.
Did you say $1.8 million?
1.6, 1.8, and it's going up and up, and they're sold like candy. There are people literally, now as I talk to them, I see people coming in and I observe, and there are people saying, we'll take two. So in this specific micro market, for example, like Toll Brothers, these houses that are literally millions of dollars, and they're just being framed, that there are people who do have money, and I suspect, and I'm going to check on this, that the cost of these homes are so expensive, they probably don't have an acceleration clause because there's probably such a big profit margin that they can just say, here's the price, and that's it. Now, that being said, with these new construction homes, again, hyper local, that from what I'm seeing, physically seeing, going to these sites, they're selling quite quickly. So I think we probably have a 3 to 6 month supply where I'm at. Whereas in other places, like in parts of Santa Ana, where they're crushing old buildings and putting up big, beautiful condos, they're going quite quickly too, because the opportunity to finally get something new, the buyers are, taking that hit because around where I am, land to build on is disappearing. So there's a lot of pressure for buyers to snap up something new, because as I tell buyers, do you think that brand new home, first owner, do you think it's going to cost more or less in 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 years when you're going to buy it later? Well, probably now, right? So there's that internal pressure of get it now or get it when it's more expensive later.
Tony, how can people get in touch with you if they're looking for representation in Southern California?
Oh, they could just grab their phone or iPad and go to Tony, TonyBabarino.com, or call 949-633-6741. Happy to have that conversation and tell them about Freedom Move USA.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Appreciate it. Paul, new construction in North Carolina. Do you see a lot of new construction happening there?
I do.
Yeah.
Land is hard to find. The builders have done something amazing. So when there's interstates, if there's 3 digits, you may already know this, it's a belt. So so they have gone to all the new beltways in Raleigh. They're starting in Raleigh. They started in Charlotte. Now they're moving to Raleigh. We don't have any in the Triad, and they're doing 55 and plus communities with all amenities. And you have them in Florida.
A lot of 55 plus communities. Okay.
And they're starting to build all around the beltways of the major cities. And that has been a big hit. They're starting at $350, but with upgrades, you're going to pay around $500,000 a lot of people pay up to $500,000.
Well, that price point right there is more affordable than a lot of these other markets that we see. You can buy a $350,000 to $500,000 new build in Raleigh, North Carolina, or a $1.8 million new build where Tony lives, right? So this is one of the reasons why you guys are top 10 on the charts. So there's got to be a bunch of
Absolutely.
How can people get in touch with you, Mr. Paul, if they're looking for representation in northern North Carolina?
Absolutely. So my direct line is 336-963-3684, and my social media is Paul NC Realtor.
He's awesome. Everybody check out Mr. Paul. Get in touch with him if you need anything up north in the North Carolina. Beautiful state. Love that state. Have you gentlemen been to that state?
I've been waiting for Paul to invite me.
Paul has got an open invite for you, I think.
I didn't get an invitation. I see all this wonderful Greek food he's cooking all the time, and I check my mailbox every single day for the invite.
Yeah. Paul is a phenomenal real estate professional, ladies and gentlemen. I highly urge, if you have any needs in North Carolina, get in touch with him. If he can't help you, you know somebody else that can. Take it from Sarge. So he's got my badge of honor wearing on his shoulder. Tim, new construction is Fort Worth kind of moving into that segment as well. You see a lot of new construction happening?
Oh, we definitely have a lot of new construction. I also agree that the issue there is the price points don't necessarily reflect that new home buyer price point, which, in our area used to be 200, 250. I mean, that was pushing it. And that was only just about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now they're 350. It's kind of that baseline 300, 350. And, even as a real
single family, right? If you want a 250 somewhere, it's going to be a townhouse. If anything, right?
If that. I mean, like I sold a 240 this time. Literally, this is the anniversary month. It was 240,000 a year ago. I was asking him how it's going. He goes, "Oh yeah, we hear gunfire every night." I mean, it's is what it is.
Oh,
I mean, 240 grand, you get a little gunfire action. I mean, which is
but
crazy.
You live in Texas, so
well, wait, that's Texas.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're just celebrating. That's all.
Yeah.
We're just excited.
You sure it wasn't just celebration prior to Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's Texas we're talking about.
But for me, I mean, what is it? In 2009, 2010, I paid $88,000 for my first house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. That house today I could sell it for $300 grand right now. But it's nuts. It's nuts. But when you talk about the new builds, I mean, does it cost that much to build a house? Is that what's really going on? Is there, is it opportunistic? I don't know. But they're capitalizing where they can. And, people are trying to upgrade into these new build communities rather than them being, first time home buyer communities, which is what they used to be, a lot of the ones in our area. So, but the prices are definitely softening because some of those communities are further out. I mean, because everything else is landlocked, if you come to the inner city, so you've got to build on the outskirts. And so, last year, though, they were skyrocketing, and now they're at the very least plateauing on their price. They're not going for crazy over list price offers right now.
All right.
I mean, historically, new construction tract type builders, nationwide builders, have a low profit margin. Right. They're sub 20% at scale. So I would be interested to see some numbers, if we could pull some numbers from somewhere to see if there is a profit margin increase. If they went from 20 to 30% in the past 2 years and just play in the market. But obviously their costs have gone up exponentially as well.
Right.
Maybe this is one of the reasons that they have the acceleration clauses sitting inside of all of these.
100%. Yeah.
Just because they can't do it. I remember last year, there were 3 different lawsuits that were happening where people were in contract. There was no acceleration clauses. Literally, the new home construction builders came back to the real estate agents and the future buyers and said, "We just can't build the home anymore."
Yeah.
For what this is.
The simple things like a truss stack. My friend's a contractor. He was telling me just 6 months ago, like when you would go to buy roof trusses and they would deliver them, right? Those are pre-packaged for all these kind of builders. The cost on that went up double in a month. Like, so you buy a roof truss pack that's normally 20 grand. It's now 40 to 45 grand. That's a big difference.
So something I feel is happening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Tim, for everything, for showing up here today. If you guys feel that pit in your stomach and want to learn more about what you should do with your money, like I said, food, water, and call Tim Parnell. So thank you, Mr. Tim. We appreciate you. Kirk, what's all this? What's all this noise?
I I think people are really forgetting the basics. I'm very much a go back to the basics kind of guy. I love that segment and what the Realtor.com Economist had to say. A lot of perspective, a lot of the points that she made, I think were right on. But there's a business cycle, and the business cycle says goods and services are going to increase in value over time, and they're going to go up and go down as time goes on. And so we are definitely hitting a point here in the real estate markets and the mortgage markets where we're hitting a peak. And whether it plateaus or goes down, it's going to adjust on its way up going forward. I remember talking to folks years ago that bought their homes in 1980 or 1978 for $80,000 in Studio City, California, and the homes are worth $1.6 million now. So it's just proof in point. It's more about management, having an outcome. I would tell people today, if you're looking to buy a home and use down payment assistance or VA loans, you can actually do 100% financing with an unlimited loan amount on VA loans. Plan on being in your home for probably 10 years, because I think you're going to see this cycle start to soften and then head back up again as time goes by.
Mark, there's a lot of liquidity in the marketplace right now. There's been a lot that our federal government has put in as far as relief programs. There's just a lot of liquidity. The housing market is also tied to our underlying economy, all of our goods and services, our supply and demand, our exports and our imports. We're seeing a lot of things in the financial markets that people are starting to hedge back, stack some of their economic profiles, some of their hedge funds to go ahead and kind of move away from some of these different things. So all things are tied. We have a supply-demand type scenario, as always, in the new build side of the house. My quick question to you is, do you feel that these new construction builders are going to start making a pivot to build more inventory that's more affordable because of the current situation?
I think on a national scale, they don't have much of a choice. It just depends on the market. In places like where you guys are out there in Florida, the demand is so hot that they may not need to. But you mentioned, and so did Danielle Hale, perspective. She said that new builds have declined by 16% in the month of April. Compared to what? A red hot, insane market, 16% may not be that much. And, we look at the rates and how they've gone up. And I think Nick said it depends on when you got into this game, First house I bought was way higher than what you can get right now. So, gasoline used to be 50 cents a gallon, or, then it popped up and we waited in line to get it. And we've all gone through these things before. It's just a matter of perspective. But the builders, I've seen it happen over and over. Right now, just like the listing agents, like Nick said, they're in control. They're the 5-year-old with the Nintendo box, and they're going to pummel everybody. As soon as this tide turns, you no longer have to pay extra for those fancy cabinets and countertops and such. They're going to be throwing all that stuff in. They did it before in these $2 million tract homes that we have around us now. And it's perspective. And you have to stay ahead of it. Realtors out there understand that, it's not always like this. If you've been in this game for a long, long time, we've got the ups and the downs. And to me, it seems like if we're on a roller coaster, we might be at the part right now we're just about to lose our stomach and go down that hill and start to slide down that way. Not to be a doom and gloom that it's going to be drastic. It's just our perspective becomes that prices only go up. It's always a seller's market. Well, that's bound to change.
Mm-hmm. Listen, if you're in Florida, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think people forget that building is a business. Those builders bought that land 20 years ago, and they're buying land now for 20 years from now. So they didn't expect the supply chain problems. Still can't get chips and refrigerators. They're sitting on in the port in Singapore, wherever they're coming from. So 9 months supply could just be that they're waiting for appliances or waiting for the last pieces to finish the project. So maybe that's why the supply is going up. But
this makes good sense to you. I actually talked to this makes good sense to me. I talked to a new home purchaser, and they actually got delayed on closing for COE because the windows were actually delayed by like 90 days. So they couldn't even move to that direction. So that might be a very big factor in all of this. Yeah, very good. Outstanding. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Kirk. We appreciate you guys. So, Nick, we've got a big boom to go ahead and end the show. It's what everybody's been waiting for. It's a huge, big boom.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I'm getting ready to show it. Yeah. So what are your final takeaways before we close this up? I know we went a little bit long today because there was a lot of information to go ahead and cover. So thank you to all of you diehard Real Estate America News fans out there.
Yep.
Nick, once again, how can people go ahead and get the show notes, get tuned in with us, break it down for everybody?
Head over to runation.com. Look at Real Estate America News. Everything's there. Our contact information is there. If you want to be on the show, we are looking for contributors in all states, not just Florida, California, and North Carolina, right? We want some representation everywhere. We want boots on the ground information. That's what this show's all about. So go ahead and fill out the form, and we will get in contact with you.
Outstanding. Good deal. And if you like what we do, please hit that like button. If you're over on YouTube, ring the bell. We're also running on a Facebook business page as well. So go over there. If you can, subscribe and tell all of your friends about it. So
to piggyback on that new construction takeaway, right? If we really did have a 9-month supply in Florida, and if people have been around this long, one of the things that builders used to do back in the day is they would give away free pools. Like legitimately, you realize how hard it is to find somebody to build a pool now. When there was 9 months supply plus, builders were throwing in a pool with every purchase to get you to come in. So like that's how far off we are. Also to kind of bring up the very smart comment from the woman who taught me everything I know about real estate, Mrs. Catherine Sakis. I think a lot of the stats do have to include all the permits and everything that's in production, not necessarily just new homes for sale that are ready to move in, but all the, everything that's pre-planned. So there could be a possibility of that 9-month supply, including everything that hasn't even broken ground yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Nick, for co-hosting today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're streaming live on the RU Nation Network. Go to runation.com. There's going to be a lot of other awesome real estate professional contributors there from a lot of different segments of the space. Mr. Greg McDaniel from Real Estate Uncensored has done a phenomenal job really kind of bringing everybody together. It's going to grow and be the place for all of your real estate information and knowledge. So wonderful show today, ladies and gentlemen. We go live every Tuesdays and Thursdays unless something happens like a big hurricane. So, but from what everybody's been waiting for, tune in every Tuesdays and Thursdays at high noon Eastern, 0900 Pacific, and send us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. So here's your big bang to go ahead and end the show, ladies and gentlemen. Nick, I will see you after the weekend. Everybody be safe, blessed, and unstoppable.